as you can see, build a better business in 90 minutes and all will become clear as I go on. So who am I? I'm Angela Burgess. I know a lot of people on the in the group, so I know I'm familiar with quite a lot of people, but just for those people that have found me through Instagram and Facebook, I'll introduce myself. So I've worked ever since I was 16, went straight from school into a office junior job at Balfour Beatty. Moving down to London, I soon became a director at 28. And then just over 16 years ago, I set up SE Magazines. And as you can see from this, I have 3 magazines in South East London that I publish every single month, 15,000 copies. And I know I've got some fellow magazine owners on the call, so you know what that feels like. And then last year, after the lockdown, the first lockdown appeared, I retrained to be a business coach with Entrepreneur Circle, and it's something that I've probably been doing for quite a long time. Just naturally, because it's something that I speak to a lot of business owners. So it felt like a really good fit, something that really sort of took the sort of things that I was normally doing and chatting with people, but sort of giving it a little bit more credibility. So I was really delighted to pass that last summer. So now I am a Entrepreneur Circle certified coach, as you can see from my lovely logo. And I work through a system called the Entrepreneurs Marketing and Sales System. And it starts with finding your gap, where you are in your business, to where you might want to be. You might be working long hours, but not getting the rewards. So we work through that, look through your marketing, go through the foundation blocks. Then we fix the marketing, we look at your numbers, we stabilise, and we just keep going till it all gets better. So that's a bit about me. So what can we expect in the next hour? What I want to do is I'd like to just show you how you can become more effective working on your business and not in it. And I think we can all do with a little bit of that. So what does that mean? It means becoming more effective by mastering your time. So really harnessing what you're spending your time on, because particularly in today's world, we all can be very busy being busy. We need to start actually really thinking about what we're spending our time on. So that's going back to the working on your business and not in it. And I think this phrase is used a lot, and I'm sure most of you know what this means. But the working in your business, that's me doing a layout in my magazine. That's me chatting to an advertiser who wants to book some space. But me working on it will be perhaps looking at doing a new magazine, new product. It would be me working on my website to get more leads. It's all about the things that are going to get more traction in your business. And it's not just the doing of it. So all this should be taking your business further. So I'm talking here that think about investing your time and not spending it. I think when you think about spending money and investing money, we have a different mindset to those things. So I like to do the same thing with my time. So instead of it just being, you get to the end of the day and you think, where's that time gone? Think about actually what you're doing. So don't spend your time, invest it. And I just really think that's a really helpful way of framing it, so you get that right mindset. And then be intentional. Again, it sounds simple, but we so often get mixed up in the day where we had every intention to do something and by the end of the day it doesn't get done. So think about what you want to do and really, really put that into place and be intentional about it. So going back to, are you being just a doer? Are you just busy getting on in your business? Busy, but actually you're just literally treading water, you're just getting on with the things that need to be done. When you spend the time on being the marketeer of your business, that's when you're actually pushing your business forward. You're doing things that are going to get you, for me, more advertisers or more coaching clients. It could be for caterer, could be more bookings, more people doing dinner parties, more people coming into your hair salon. It's just about doing the work that will attract more customers. And then it's also thinking about what is non-negotiable, what has got to happen in your business that only you can do, and make sure that you actually set time aside for that. So that's all very good, but how are we going to do that? So one of the books I've been recently reading, it's called 168 Hours. With no surprise, but that is how many hours we have in a week. And guess what? We all have it. There's nobody has less hours or more hours. We all have exactly the same. So it's a really interesting read. And I do have a book list, a reading list that I will send to everybody. And that will just be added on because it's quite a new one that I've been reading. So how are you spending your time? So one of the things that I suggest to my coaching clients is you, even if it's a couple of days, but ideally a week, track your time and actually look at what you're spending your time on. You don't need to be, super detailed, but are you, for me, am I talking to a client? Am I designing an advert? Am I reading content? Am I writing something for the magazine? Just quickly, did I spend 15 minutes on it, 10 minutes, whatever it might be? But you'd be surprised, I think, that if you start your working day at 8:30 and you finished at 5:30, you would have 12 45-minute slots. If you took 45 minutes for lunch, which I know a lot of people don't even get to do that, you've got a massive 55 sessions per week. And I was speaking to someone about this just the other day. They just couldn't believe that. Just made them realise how much time there was there. And obviously, if you work part-time, if you're working on a side hustle, pro rata it. I'm not expecting, if you're a mum or a dad and you've got children to look after in the mix of it, just work out if you're, aiming for a 3-day week, just bring it down. You've still got 33 sessions. So I think it's really, it's a real eye-opener for me when I started looking at this and just realising how many minutes in those sessions just really clarifies it, I think, for me. So just imagine what you could be doing with those 55 sessions if you're working a full-time week. So the more marketing you do, the more profit you will make. It's absolutely, it never doesn't work that way. You just need to keep getting your name out there, your business, your offerings. You need to make sure people know who you are and know what you've got to offer. And it may be that you've got something new to offer and you've not told anyone about. So it's about stop talking and start doing. And never, more than ever, with us coming out of the latest lockdown and the different restrictions that are changing all the time, it's really important to be prepared. So why 90 minutes and what should we be doing? Well, I think 90 minutes because it's not really that daunting. If I was here saying to you, you all need to spend 7 hours every single day working on your business, you'd be going, but Angela, I've got no time to actually do the work then. Who's doing that? So it's completely unrealistic. But 90 minutes, does that not sound like you could maybe carve out that time in your day? And I'll mention later that I do mine in 2 lots of 45 minutes, which gets even easier because that even sounds more simple than 90 minutes. So it's about not multitasking. I fell into the multitasking trap many years ago, thinking I was absolutely brilliant because, oh my God, I could do this, I could do that. I could be chatting to someone whilst reading an email, whilst, making myself a cup of tea. And actually, in the end, you don't do any of those things properly. So I think that we've all been fed that line, and particularly the ladies on the call today, that multitasking is the way to go, and it just absolutely isn't. So I think it's a really inefficient way of working. And again, one of my favourite books, which is The One Thing, and it literally is do one thing, finish it, and then do the next thing and finish it. And it sounds so incredibly simple, but it's massively effective when you actually start putting that into place. So what's the most important thing you've got to do for your business? Well, I can't imagine that any of us would think it's anything other than get and keep more customers. Because if we manage to do that, everything else will be okay. You know, it isn't having the latest office chair. It isn't about, you know, networking or, you know, getting people booked in. You know, need to make sure that you're getting the customers coming to your business week in, week out, like clockwork. So that is the one thing that drives all our business: customers. So I defy anyone to say there is anything that is more important than that. So what are you going to do each day to achieve this? If you knew by setting some time aside to focus on this, that you're going to get all the customers that you'll never need, surely you'd set that time aside. You know, surely that would be important to you. So how can we do it? So as I mentioned, I prefer to do 2 lots of 45 minutes because then I can batch my work. So there's quite a bit of, science behind 50 minutes is about as long as anyone can concentrate. So I'll be watching out at the end of this hour to see who's still with me after 50 minutes. So I find that batching up the work, so for instance, if you've got to do, say, some blog posts, which I find really difficult to do, I really find it hard to get into the right mindset. So if I've actually managed to get into that mindset, it's a good idea to do a few at the same time, rather than then doing something else. And, you know, you lose, the minute you swap from one task to another, it takes you a good 5 minutes or so to get back into it. So you just lose time. So it just is a practical and useful way of doing things. Also keeps you focused. I think if you say, right, I've got 45 minutes, I've got to get this done, you can get focused in that time. I think you can, it doesn't feel like too daunting. You've not got hours to do something, you've just got 45 minutes. And one of my little tips is, instead of making the coffee first, I will go, right, this job needs doing, sit down, get it done, and then that is my reward. I'm a great believer in rewards. So are you a morning person? Do you spring out of bed at 5:30, do a bit of meditation, do a bit of exercise, you know, have your cup of tea and you're already starting work by 6:15? No, me neither. I'm not one of those people. Are you a night owl? You know, you get to decide. That is the beauty. You do not have to do this in any set way. You find the way that works for you. Because as with most things, if you follow just doing it because someone else does it that way, if it's not authentic to you, if you're trying to get up at 6 o'clock to do that thing that so many people seem to say they do, and they've done so much and you haven't even got out of bed yet, and you feel a little bit like a slight failure that you've not managed to do what they've done, doesn't matter. It's about doing the right thing for you and finding your time, and that might take a little bit of practice. So, you know, if you've got children, getting all this done in the morning might not be effective for you because you're not going to get the chance to concentrate. So I know a lot of working mums quite often do this kind of thing in the evening. So as I say, whatever it works for you, and then you need to commit to it. So what I use is a planner. I love a planner. I'm a bit of a stationery freak, so I love all this kind of thing. But this is a planner that I've got from Entrepreneur Circle. It's Nigel, who runs Entrepreneur Circle, his planner, 90-minute planner. So this isn't a planner that we use to say what we're doing every minute of the day. It's not, oh, 9 o'clock I've got an appointment, 10 o'clock I'm running a workshop. It's a planner for the things that you should be working on, those intentional marketing, working on your business sessions. So you can use the planner to put down the things that you need to do. So for instance, on my planner this week was to update these slides to make sure that there's a couple of typos, put a slide in the wrong place, that kind of thing. So that goes on my planner, so I know that will get into that session on that particular day. So you just need to make sure that all the sessions are about working on your business, making it better and making it more profitable. So you need to think, what could I be getting from this? Not just sneaking in a few little things that are actually just working in your business. It's got to be something that can be driving you forward. So, and I just, one of the things I think is with time is you often don't know where the time's gone. So if you're spending it, not investing it, this is where you're investing the time. And again, you could do this you could plan this for 7 to 10 days. And it doesn't mean you can't change it. You know, nothing is set in stone, but we all know that the things that get written down, the things that we focus on are generally the things that we put the effort into. So if you haven't written it down and you're just relying on your brain to remember these things, I mean, I literally don't know how anyone does that because I have so many to-do lists. So today ain't over until tomorrow is planned. I think this is such a good way of working, because once you've made that decision to put things on your list, once you know what you're doing, you can just get on with it. And again, it sounds so simple, but sometimes it's the thinking and the like, what have I got to do? How am I going to do it? It takes the time. Whereas night before, you finish your day and you work out what are going to be the important things that I need to get done tomorrow. You know, I'm not talking about planning every minute of the day. It's all about understanding what are those intentional things you're going to do the next day. So don't wake up without a plan. So I've been going on about what you could be doing, 90 minutes, 2 lots of 45 minutes, but what are the things that you should be doing? So I've got this handy checklist, and I have got this available as a download, which I'm very happy to send out after this session. And I just think it's really, really useful to have a bit of a guide, really. What are the things that I could be doing? Because, you know, we all can get so used to doing things the way we do them that we don't really know how to change, and we don't really know. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So hopefully this list will give you some ideas. So I've got 26 things that I'm going to go through with you. It's not an exhaustive list, and they won't all be relevant to you. So just pick the things that you can immediately identify with and start putting those into your 90 minutes. You know, pick and choose. So starter. I think this is one that most of us do to some degree, which is write to our list. It's just so important to keep in contact with the people that we are already doing business with, or people who've been in touch with us and have been interested in what we do. So, you know, email lists, you can send I send out something to the magazines, which will be, here's a reminder, it's the deadline's coming up. It's today, in fact. But so I sent that out earlier this week. I sent one out last week. I think some of us are a bit scared of sending out too many emails. We get worried if someone unsubscribes. It's not a problem if someone unsubscribes. It just means that they're now not interested in what we're doing, or it's not the right time, or they've moved on. But it's better to have a list of people who are interested. So don't be afraid of that. I used to really, really hit me hard when someone didn't subscribe. You think, what have I done wrong? And it's not about that. It's just not relevant anymore to them. And in the days that we do get so many emails, you might think, oh, nobody reads these things, but they do. They really do. And that's where just getting the right message and having a good engaged list really, really does help. So I think it's completely relevant. I can't think of a business that this is not a good idea to have. It's a great way of getting offers to people, reminders, something new you're doing. If you've just won an award for something, you know, it's a lovely way of being able to communicate with your customers and your prospects. So very, very important. Over the last couple of years, I think LinkedIn has become a much more relevant tool as well. I think over the years, it used to just be, if you wanted to get a job, you put your CV on it, and, you know, very much felt it was just very business to business. And that is really, really changing now. And I'm finding an awful lot of people are using this as a really good, you know, sales tool. You can get something called Sales Navigator that can sort of help you get in touch with the right people. Now, it's not for everybody, and that does cost. So it's not something I'd recommend you do until you've really got into LinkedIn a bit. There's some really great free courses around. If you go on LinkedIn, you'll see some of the people that do that, you know, to get a really good message, get a good profile, and be really clear about what you do. So again, a very good thing to do for most businesses. Reactivate old customers. This one absolutely amazes me how many people do not go back to people that they've already done business with. The person might not be in touch for a while. You know, I have it with people who advertise, you know, they come and go, quite a lot of them, but that person has already done business with me. So at some point they felt comfortably enough. We had the know, like and trust. They booked some advertising and they've not come back, or they did it for a couple of months and didn't come back. It is so much easier for me to go back to that person and say, how are you doing? You know, are you still interested? This is a new offer I'm doing. Or even just say, how are you? You know, do you fancy a chat? Because they're already there. You know, the actual time and effort you've got to go into to go and find a potential brand new customer, it's just so much more. So I had this conversation with a coaching client this week, and she's got a marketing agency, believe it or not, who's doing this work for her. And they hadn't even thought to go back to any ex-clients or even prospects that had had a proposal that just didn't buy at the time. So they're what a lot of us call the low-hanging fruit. You know, they're the people that have already been in touch. So absolutely make it, you know, and you can even go and do it as a campaign. You know we used to work together. We'd love to see you back. What can we do? Really, definitely, well, one worth doing. Follow-up campaign. Now, some of us don't even have these things, but have you got one? Have you got, you know, when someone gets in touch with you, do you actually have a proper campaign that you follow when they've been in touch? You know, some people have some automations. I have some of them in my business for downloading rate cards and things like that. But you need to be able to see who's been in touch with you, what they're interested in, and how well you followed up. You know, are you making them feel special? There's a brilliant story from many years ago, a florist that is a member of Entrepreneurs Circle, and they really went to town on this. They mapped out the sort of customer journey, just to the degree of, from the minute someone was in touch, they got a lovely email saying, we've got your order, we're delighted to be doing your flowers. The next thing, there'll be a little photograph of the person, the florist, doing the actual flowers. Then when they were dispatched, they got another thing. And you might feel, oh God, no one will want to hear from me that many times. But actually, it really worked for them. So obviously, the flowers are generally delivered to somebody else. It's usually a gift. They got a lovely note. They also got a discount code to use. And then the genius bit they did was 2 days later, they would send the plant food, which apparently you don't put in the minute you get your flowers. You put it in 2 days later. Never knew that. But again, it was another touch point, another way that that company got in front of somebody. So really good. It doesn't mean we have to all go quite to that level, but that really worked for them. So think about what you could do, how you could make your customers or even your leads feel loved. And you know, that's a way that they can get to know and like and trust you and do more business. One-off follow-ups. That's where there could be something new in the news. It's things like, you know, the Olympics, feel-good stories, coming out of lockdown, going into lockdown, all these things. You've got an opportunity to get in touch with someone and link to something that's happening that makes what you're talking about relevant. So, you know, it's there's not necessarily one of those that you can do all the time, but occasionally. And I think there's certain ones that you know, you feel like everybody is jumping on the bandwagon. So I would just always advise a bit of care. Make sure it's got some synergy with what you're actually trying to say to somebody. Reading. This is one of the things you could be doing in your 90 minutes. It might seem like that doesn't fit, but it definitely does. I'm an avid reader. I love business books as well. I read them like I read novels. So setting yourself a task to do some reading each week is a really, really good thing. I certainly find it, I get ideas, I get creative, you know, I just think there's just no downside to it. And also you learn lots if you're reading the sort of right kind of books. And you can listen to books as well. I'm not discounting audio books or even podcasts. So another one of the things you can do, planning how to build your list. So it's all well and good sending things to your list, but what if you've not really got anybody on it? So this is where you'd have a lead magnet. So your lead magnet could be a nice PDF of a handy tips. So for instance, I know I've got Sue James on the call today. It could be, you know, how to run a fabulous dinner party, my top 7 tips. And of course, you can give away that information, but there will always be someone who wants to buy the product in. You know, even sometimes it seems counterintuitive to give away stuff, but actually you let people know what can be done, and then they always know you could be the person that can do it for them if they don't want to follow your tips. So I think that's a really good thing to do. I was on a call yesterday with my cohort of coaches, and there was a wedding singer someone had a wedding singer as a client, and he was giving away a checklist on how to work out what entertainment to have at your wedding. And so he was making sure that, yes, of course, they could book him, but he was giving away some really good information about the things to check. You know, do the prices include VAT? Have they built in the cost of travel? You know, down to even what they wear. I mean, it's quite an interesting thing. So that was his lead magnet. So that's a really useful thing. How are you going to get people onto your list? I give people my rates, which doesn't seem like much of a lead magnet, but that's the only way they're going to find out if the magazines are useful for them or affordable. So that builds my list. You might do Facebook ads, so you can do lead gen ads. So you put something on which will, again, usually offering something to somebody. Not many people are going to just give their email address and go, please, yes, send me all your emails. But we don't mind doing it if we think we're getting something from it, and we can always unsubscribe later. So I think it's having an offer for people. And you can do that with flyers, adverts, all that kind of thing. It's all about getting people onto your list so you can then start to nurture them and get to know them, and they can get to know you. So writing and scripting landing pages. Now, this is something that I've only just started doing. So a landing page is usually on your website, albeit there are packages, ClickFunnels, there's all different sort of tech that you can use for this. But I do mine within my website. But they are just a page, and it doesn't have any of your normal navigation on. So if you go to my landing, if anyone booked Build a Better Business, you will have all gone to my landing page. And on that page, you had 2 options. You could book the workshop by filling in the form, or you could go. That's it. You couldn't find out about how to do a one-to-one with me. You certainly couldn't find out what magazines I did. You couldn't find out my Facebook page or my Instagram. It was all about, do you want to come on the workshop or not? So that's what landing pages are. It's to push. They used to be called squeeze pages. It's really pushing or squeezing that person to just do that one thing. So that's what you do. You just make sure that they have that one opportunity. And of course, the beauty of this is these pages can then be analysed. So you can see who is actually clicking on these links. So it gives you a good idea as to whether what you're offering is actually what people want. So planning and writing quality content to give away, that builds into the lead magnets. So this can also be, you know, do ebooks, which has been a big thing. Lots of people do things like that now. You could be doing a blog post which will tell people how to do a certain thing. And again, giving away stuff is often the best way. I've been on quite a few courses lately where there'd be a free challenge at the beginning. So I did one on WordPress, and it was a 5-day challenge, and the amount of information that was given during those 5 days was amazing. It certainly gave me really everything I needed to know to be able to do a website. But of course, at the end of it, there was a fantastic course that definitely gave me everything I needed to know. And I bought the course, and of course, probably about 8 months later, I've done 5 websites because it was a really, really good course. But what that challenge gave me was the ability to understand the person that sold me the course knew what she was doing. So I could see all that, and it was almost like, well, wow, she's giving all that for free. Imagine what she's going to be able to do when I'm actually on her paid course. So it sometimes doesn't seem like that, but it's a really good idea to be giving away stuff, because someone will always want you then to come and help them do it. Segmenting your database. So when you've got this list, don't just have it all in one big list. Now, if you've got a good CRM system, you can segment your database. So for me, for instance, on the magazines, I have it segmented by postcode, because I've got 3 different magazines, 3 different postcodes. So it's much better for me if I approach, say I want to say hello to all the businesses I know in East Dulwich. It's really good if I actually manage to get all the people who've got an SE22 postcode, which is East Dulwich. And not so good if someone in West Dulwich, SE21, gets that email. It looks like I'm not really recognising them. So if you're going to get specific, which I think you should, you need to make sure you've segmented your database. So for instance, anyone who booked on this workshop immediately got tagged for this workshop. So if I want to, I can go back and speak to you specifically about this workshop and what was said. And, you know, something could have happened or does happen later today as part of this. And I can reference it knowing that you were there because I've got you tagged. So it's a really useful thing to do. Sending thank you messages. Again, very simple, you say, but so many people don't do it. And it's such a good way of keeping that connection. So this is obviously probably to a client, but it could be to somebody who's referred you. So Wednesday it was, I got home to a lovely package and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I've not ordered anything. What could it be? And I got a beautiful box of bite-sized brownies from a company called Bad Brownie. I'd never heard of them, but interesting enough, they're down the road in Forest Hill in SE23. And I got a note, and it was from a lovely lady called Emma Mills, who runs a company called My PA. And I use her company as my VA. So they answer my phones for me, and they do a certain amount of hours working in my business. And I had a magazine client who is a carpet fitter, and he was doing a lovely big spread in the magazines. So I had a nice chat with him to say, well, if you get inquiries, how are you going to deal with these? Because he answers his own phone. So I suggested that he speak to Emma and look at getting that service done. It's so affordable, but there's really very little point. I know my other magazine owners will say, what's the point in spending money on advertising if you've not got that follow-up system? You know, if someone goes to an answer phone, you know, they might leave you a message, but more than likely they'll just go on to the next person. So I referred Emma to Stephen. Stephen booked, and Emma sent me a lovely box of brownies, which I have to say are very nice. But what a lovely way. I'm her client and I've had that very nice thank you. So of course, the next time I might be in that position where I could recommend her, of course I'm going to do that. And she didn't need to do it because I'd already done the recommendation. But I'm talking about it now. And as we know, when something like that happens, we go, oh, that's a nice thing. And we tell our friends, we tell our customers. So it's well worth doing. And I know that Sue does some fabulous brownies, so that could be an option for you, Sue. Another thing that you could be doing is identifying who's got a best list for your niche. So that's effectively piggybacking onto somebody else's business. So for instance, my designer, sometimes he'll do an offer and I will send that out to my list, because quite often the people that I'm dealing with are small businesses who might have a need for a designer to do some artwork for them, and he will do an offer and it comes from me. It gives them, hopefully there'll be an offer there for them with some sort of discount, and it gets Stephen in front of the people. So I know a lot of Stephens. He's not the carpet fitter, he is a graphic designer. It gets him in front of people that he would not be able to get in front of normally. So think about who you might be able to collaborate with. It's got to fit. you know, that fits for me because I know that I've got people who are advertising. So graphic design is part of that. You know, they might need some flyers doing. So it's a good fit. So it needs to work. It can't just be any old list. Another session, headline brainstorm. So, excuse me. You could just literally spend 45 minutes having a lot of fun, coming up with some headlines. And you don't even need to think about what you're going to use them for. Just put them down. So they could end up then being a headline for your newsletter. One of my favourites I did for a newsletter many years ago was bad news. I think my open rate was about 70%. And my normal open rate for magazines is about 35%, which is still a pretty good open rate. But bad news, it's amazing what people, they were clicking like mad to see what bad news had bestowed on me. And I remember my brother phoning saying, what's happened? And I just said, like, I won't be letting you know I've had bad news via my, you know, SE Magazine's newsletter, don't worry. But you can get creative. But the thing is, if you sit there and just do a whole load of them, you can then start working out what you can do to back them up afterwards. You've got headline tests. So you can go into Google and you can actually start putting some headlines in and seeing if these things are being searched for. So again, this sort of goes a bit to the sort of SEO type thing and blog posts and keywords. I mean, that's a whole nother probably workshop on that. But again, it's good. You can go and find out what people are actually looking for and then make sure you're using the language that they're sort of using. Review Google ad performance. So I'm guessing if any one of you are doing Google ads, you should definitely be doing this. I've not actually done any Google ads because it's I've found that so far organic for the magazines is fine, but for the coaching, I just don't think many people are Googling, or I've not worked out what they might be Googling anyway. So any ideas, answers on the postcard. And if any of you are looking at doing this or you're new to it, or you need a review of what you've actually been doing, I've got a really great company called Pixel Marketing who can help you. They can either review what you're already doing. It's free, by the way. Or if you haven't got this set up, if you've not got your Google Analytics set up, if I use the word Pixel and you don't know what I'm talking about, any of these things, they're a great company to get in touch with because that might be relevant for your business. So it's well worth having a look. But you've got to be really sure about what you're doing. I'm going to carry on with that with Facebook ads too. So back in the day, Google ads were the one where everyone was getting all the rewards. Facebook ads was quite new, but it meant they were quite cheap. And lots of people have had really good success, and it's now changed around. So the Google ads are the ones that are cheaper now. Facebook ads have gone really expensive, and Facebook seem to be just messing around with things so much that I'm getting so much feedback now that it's, you know, you've really got to start looking at these quite differently to how maybe they worked before. So if you're looking at doing something like Google ads or Facebook ads, and if you're not sure, that's where I definitely would seek advice. Not from me, I'm no expert, but I do know people who are experts. And in fact, I'm speaking to a Facebook ad specialist next week because I'm hoping I might be able to get someone working with me in case other people need that, because it changes all the time. So if you just dip in and out, you're never going to know all the things that are happening. And if you do Facebook ads, do split test. So don't just do one ad. You can do, they always suggest doing at least two. And in fact, I know the lady that who did the WordPress training, she'll do 3 lots of 3. So she does a long, medium and short text with 3 different images and swaps and change, and she tests it. And then when she's found out which one works best, that's the one she goes with. So quite a lot of effort in there. Planning and scripting sales webinars. So for instance, something like this. Webinars are becoming quite a popular way of getting across what you're doing. And again, depending on what kind of business, it could be a really good thing to do to get across what you are selling or what you do, show them. Sometimes it's just from an ad or an email. No, they don't have a clue. So if you can show somebody You know, I'm sure after hearing me discuss all this, you might hopefully think I know a bit more about things than you would if you just read an email from me. So it's about building that trust. You get to see somebody, you get to hear them. So it's they can really be worth doing. Gathering reviews, including Google reviews, so important now. And just, you know, we all have got to the point now where almost anything we do, we go and check a review somewhere. Trustpilot, you know, in the old days, TripAdvisor, when we were allowed to go out and eat and go to hotels. But Google reviews they work twofold. So not only are they somewhere that people understand, if you say I'm going to go for a Google review, they know what you're talking about. So that bit's fine. Most people have got Google accounts, so you can go in and do them. But the best bit is they help with your SEO for your actual website on Google. So that's why I push now. If I ask for a review, that's where I want them. Now, people can give you a testimonial. That's also wonderful. And you can write them on your website and you can do an Instagram post. But it's that third-party authentication that you get by having a Google review. But remember, it is your business to ask for them. Don't expect your customers to just do these for you. You know, you need to ask them nicely, obviously, but you do need to ask them. So other things that you can be doing, planning, offers, promotions, you know, buy one, get one free. You know, that's one that we're all used to. But think about something you might do. There might be a time of the year, you know, Easter, Christmas, Valentine's. These are things that you can set out and write the text and decide on your promotion now and have them ready. And you just evergreen. You keep using them year in, year out with little bits of tweaking. Recording videos. I've just done one. Some of you might have seen it. If you haven't, you can head over to my SE Magazine's website. I bit the bullet. I didn't want to do one, but I know that video now is really, if you've got video on your website, you're being rewarded by Google. You need to, you can't just ignore the fact that you don't like doing things. We've got to get ourselves out there. But the video I did is one that's offered by Entrepreneurs Circle, and it's called a Spotlight video. And the reason I mention it is because it was so comfortable for me to do, because I had a lovely lady, Annie, who's a presenter, and she comes along, has a lovely chat with you off camera, gets across what you want to, talks to you about what you want to get across in the video, and then she just interviews you. And you don't hear her talk, you know, during the video. So you summarize what the question is and then answer it. And it's so easy because all of us know our businesses. We know what we're doing. So I really think that's a great way, rather than starting there with a blank piece of paper thinking, what do I put on my video? So if you're interested in that, do take a look. But I really recommend that you get a video done. And that's including doing lives on Facebook and Instagram. Again, I did a course, Get Video Confident, to kind of get over that fear of being on camera, and I've done a few lives now with other people, which have been, you know, really good. So I've quite enjoyed it. Mapping out launch campaigns, again, properly planning. The beauty of these 45-minute slots are you have permission to go, right, I'm going to actually properly think out something that might have been in your head for a while, and, you know, put it on paper, work out all the bits that need to be done, and then you can start actually implementing it. It's just so important. Developing new products could be something that you'll do. I could launch a new magazine. I'm not planning to do, but I could. So a good use of my time would be to scope out the area, look at the houses, check how many residents there are there, you know, look at the sort of content that I'd want for it. So that would be a good use of my time. Study your Google Analytics. I sort of touched on that before, but you should, you know, you should have your Google My Business. If no one has got a Google My Business account, please talk to me and I will be very happy to show you how to get that set up. It's completely free. And this is something that pops up usually on the right-hand side when you might Google somebody. And if you've not got that space taken, that space is free and it's yours if it's your business. So please make sure you claim that if you haven't done. Reviewing and updating your website, again, another important thing, something that back in the day, you spent all this effort, usually quite a lot of money with somebody, you got a website up and then you just left it. Well, again, Google rewards change, new information. So updating your website, putting offers, having a blog, all these things help with your Google rankings. So again, really important. And what do you feel when you go to a website that's got, the last blog was February 2019? You feel like maybe the business is, you know, is it still in business for a start? So make sure if you're going to put things on there that are dated, make sure they're up to date. And if they're not, take the dates off, so you're not actually being that obvious about it. And also make sure that your website is mobile friendly, because that is where most people are actually viewing our websites now. Write and design ads. So if you were looking at putting an advert in a magazine or a newspaper or a journal, that's a good use of your time. Be intentional, work out what you want to do. And the same for writing and designing sales letters. So again, these are the things that you're doing to market your business to get more clients. So it makes good sense that you spend some proper time really, really thinking about this and making sure you've got it right. So bonus number 27, write down your goals. Again, you know, this is not about New Year's resolutions, but I really, really firmly believe that if you write down your business goals, you've got a far better chance of reaching them. So if you haven't done that even this year, then now's a good time. Write down your goals for the next 3 months. You can write down your yearly goals. You can have a 5-year plan, whatever works for you. Personally, I like to have an idea of what I want to do in the year, but I think reviewing your goals every 3 months is really smart, because if you've set yourself a target of doing something for the year, but you don't really look at what you're doing until that year's up, well, you've got no chance to change it. You've got no chance. Maybe you're absolutely rocking it at something and you can do more of it. Or you're doing something and it's just not working. It's not giving you the results. So far better that you spot that earlier on and you can change it. So I really think, you know, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be lots of things. But, you know, if you're thinking like, I want to double my turnover, brilliant. That's a fabulous goal to have. But how are you going to do it? You need to break that down then into steps, and those steps then become part of your 90 minutes a day. So it's really important, and there's lots of research that prove that anyone that writes their goals down, they're more likely to achieve them than people who don't write them down. So it's a good reason to do it. So a quick sip of water. So the rule of 3. So when you've mastered your 90 minutes or you've got yourself into that groove, there's another layer that you can add to this for it on a daily basis. And this is the rule of 3. So start each day with 3 things that you absolutely are going to do. They are completely non-negotiable. And I don't mean have a cup of coffee or go and have lunch. I mean things that are going to move your business forward. So think about that each day. Again, it's just another little layer that helps you get this work done, and it becomes a habit. And if you can start doing that, there's 3 things. And again, I'm a big fan of getting them done and out of the way in the morning if you can. We all know that the day gets in the way, something happens, a phone call, we've got to go and pick someone up from an appointment, all sorts. Those things have been happening to me a lot lately. So when I've managed to get started and get some of those things done, then I've got the time for, you know, a bit of things to happen that I've not planned. So really, really recommend doing that. So you've got your 5-day planner, you've got your jobs that you want to do in your 90 minutes. And then you've planned the night before, and the next morning you've got 3 things. Now you still might do 10 things that day or 4, but try and get those 3 ones done as soon as you can. So my 3 essentials for any business owner, this is my holy trinity. Read, write, create. So again, I've mentioned reading. I'm a big, big fan of reading business books. And there are some really fabulous books out there, and they're not all dry, big, massive hardback books that you think, I'm never going to get through them. One of my favourites that I've read recently is called Sumo, and it's Shut Up, Move On. And it sounds a bit aggressive, but it's not like that at all. And it's a really fun book, actually. It's just so readable. And it talks about, you know, making those decisions about getting on with stuff, understanding that sometimes there's a problem, wallow in it for a bit. That's hippo time, he calls it. Wallow in it for a bit, but then knowing when to move on. So you might have had a bad reaction from the customer. Maybe someone doesn't want to do business with you anymore, and it feels personal, and you know, you're upset about it. And allow yourself that time, because we're all human and we do feel those things. But then remember and realise that there's a limit to how long you need to feel like that. Then you get on. That's a really great book. I really recommend it, and it is on my reading list. But reading, it just gets you, you know, your creative juices going. Read each week. I mean, I read probably every day, but that's not doable for everybody. And particularly if you don't love reading and it feels more of a chore, then maybe audiobooks is where to go, or some podcasts. Writing, getting into that discipline, even if it's just, you know, you writing an email, writing a blog post, writing an article, these kind of things. If you get into doing that, you'll get better at it. I did a creative writing class. I just won it a couple of weeks ago. And I literally did one evening, and I just noticed how much better the people who have been on this course were at being descriptive. My writing was very basic. I said what I needed to say, but it was really, really dull, I have to say. But I know that if I worked at that, it would get better. So that's what we need to do. And just get creative, create things, think about how you can do things differently, think about how you can hone the way you, your customer journey, for instance. So it's all about, to me, nourishing your brain, make appointments with yourself. So, you know, your 45 minutes one day could be just that, doing some writing. Just write, might not even have any particular plan in place, but just do some writing. Read a couple of chapters of a book and see where it takes you. So track everything. You know, do you keep a scorecard for how your marketing is working? This is something that I did in another workshop, but it's so important. Some of us can think something isn't working, but when you actually start looking at the numbers, it's actually doing what we want it to do, but we're not aware of it because we're not looking at the actual specific numbers. So my motto always is, if you spend time on it or money on it, it makes sense to track the effectiveness. So I don't want to waste my time on doing something that's not bringing in business, or is not something that's helping a customer or client, nor do I want to spend money on something. You know, if I get people who advertise with me who are not happy with the results, I would obviously have a look at what they're doing. I might suggest they change the ad. We might look at that. But ultimately, if it's not the right place for them and they're not getting results, it's not good for me. You know, I don't want their money because it's not working for them. We all want happy customers, whatever we're doing. So if we track it, we can actually work out that things have been effective. Guess what? If something's working, we can do more of it. And if something isn't, we can either change it or stop doing it. So we are nearly there. So in summary, be intentional. Set 90 minutes a day, pro rata to how many days a week you work, to focus, to read, to write, to create. Make appointments with yourself to do these things. Use the rule of three things every day that are non-negotiable that you are going to get done. Remember, today ain't over till tomorrow's planned. Don't start the morning without a plan. So track everything. And then the 60 minutes today will be 90 minutes on Monday and Tuesday. And so that's what I would encourage you all to do. And I'm going to do some questions in a moment, but before then, what next? I would like to offer a free strategy call with me. I've got 6 places available in the next 3 weeks, up to an hour each. And I'd love to speak with any business owners who you know, may not be sure about the things that they could be spending more time on, or they're not sure what's working in their business. And I'd love to see if I can help you. And it's completely free. There's no obligation. It's just something that I'm finding it's really useful for me if I can help, but also it gives me really useful information to understand what people are struggling with, what they might need help with. And then that might become another workshop. So I would love if anyone wants to do that. You can either email me, angela@angelaburgess.co.uk. You've got my email, or you can say yes in the chat if you want to. So almost bang on. I'm quite pleased with my timing. So that's the end of the workshop. So I've got a couple of things. I would love to hear any questions, and I'm going to turn the screen off in a moment and have a look at the chat. I'd love to know if you've got any nuggets, anything that's really resonated with you that you think that's the one thing I'm absolutely going to do. And there will be a recording of this, which I will send out by the end of today. And in the spirit of what I've just said, if anyone would like to leave me a Google review, I would absolutely love that. I'm going to put the details in the chat.